Hello, everyone. Welcome to the session today. We are glad to have all of you here, and it's a pleasure to host each one of you for the session of marketing during pandemic times. I think this is a session that we all were waiting for, and is something that all in entrepreneurs can relate to because a lot of things have changed because of this pandemic. And as entrepreneurs, I think the most thing very crucial to us is how to get our messaging or how to get our marketing right. And this has been a huge change for all of us, and we are glad to host everyone here for this session today. Without taking too much of your time, I would like to introduce you to our speaker for the evening. It's Mr. Pareen Latia, who is the AVP at WazirX. WazirX is India's largest cryptocurrency exchange today. And apart from that, Pareen has been an entrepreneur with three ventures. So, being an entrepreneur, he's played the role of being a software developer to being a client facing salesperson. And I'm sure over the period of years, he's understood how difficult and how easy the entire game of entrepreneurship is. He's spent over 12 years being a marketeer and has learned from some of the best minds in India. And with all his experience today, he's come up with a new framework that he's going to share with all of us. That is called the CMO Stack. He also has a newsletter which is read by over 1,000 people and startups every week. So I would like to invite Pareen here today and thank him for taking time out. And over to you, Pareen. Before we go on, we want this session to be a very interactive session. So if you have any questions that you want to ask him, please feel free to write it in the chat box, and Pareen will pick it up from there. And in case you have any doubts or questions, you can unmute yourself as well and ask them within the session, because that's what will make the whole session very valuable to each one of you, and you will have something to take back from it. So I set the stage for Pareen and let him take it forward from here. Thank you, Pareen, and over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mansi. Hello, everyone. Hope it is not too late to talk about how things are changing and going forward in this pandemic. I think we are all witnessing a historic moment right now, and probably decades later there will be case studies written about startups who actually end up doing well in this pandemic because as we all have seen mostly is that people who survive in crisis, they end up becoming really big, right? So that's one thought that I have whenever I think of this unfortunate situation that we are all going through. And I've been told that all of you are entrepreneurs. Most of you run B2B companies, and some of you run B2C companies. And although marketing has been talked about in various ways, has been misunderstood, has been dissected for quite some time. I don't know if you guys understand this, but last reliable marketing framework was invented at least 25 years ago. Okay, so the version that most of us know is about 4Ps, 7Ps, Philip Kotler's framework. This framework actually, is it relevant right now or not, is something we can all answer if we look at whether we are using it or not. So any of your marketing meetings, if you talk about 4Ps, then that's great. But from my experience, absolutely no one does, right? So we are right now witnessing just way too many changes, and with that, marketing has to change. We cannot go out and put up billboards right now. We cannot go out and do the same stuff that people have been doing. Celebrity endorsements have stopped working anymore. A lot of things are changing in the macro environment, which is affecting the way marketing is conducted, right? So now that we are talking about the pandemic, let me just ask a few questions. So as Mansi said, we'll keep it interactive. And I know most of you might have cases, specific problems from your own business. I'm trying to keep it as generic as possible because it's just 1 hour that we have, and it's not possible to cover minute details. So what we'll do is we'll keep it strategic, bird's eye view. But if you have specific questions about your businesses, startups, uh, feel free to put them in chat. I may not take them right away, but I will make sure I answer as many questions as time allows me. And also, I will be asking some of my own questions. Okay, so yeah. First thing that I want to understand is how many of you have been affected by the pandemic. When we say affected, what it means is not on a personal level, but from a business and particularly marketing perspective. Let's say you have a retail shop and you aren't able to open it at all. Of course you are affected, right? But if you are a Swiggy, you are affected too. How? Because your business grows multifold. So how many of us have been affected? If you folks can just answer it in chat, I can understand your specific case, right? So anyone who wants to answer whether you have been affected during this pandemic. No one. No one wants to share their story of how pandemic has been bad. Yeah. So Sasha is saying affected. Should I assume everyone else is not affected and it's business as usual? So Saurav is saying yes, affected, right? So when you say affected, let me drill this down. Oh, Pratik, wow. Pratik has been affected in a positive way. Sasha has been affected in a positive way as well. Wow. See, so it's not all bad, but let's understand people who've been affected negatively. Have you been affected in a way that your survival is in question? So Shravan says Shravan is affected negatively, right? So Shravan, is your survival in question right now, or you've had to alter, let's say, your projections, your VC targets, or anything that you are working on? Is there any business that is finding it hard to just survive, has no runway in this pandemic? Okay, so Rajgopal has. We had to change our model. Yeah, went on a loan to keep our company run. So Shravan has a survival issue here, right? So let's look at what we are going through right now when we say we are going through a pandemic, right? Uh, this is my way of thinking, and this is how, as business, we've been thinking, is that pandemic is temporary. Marketing strategy per se is long term. So these two, you can't decide a marketing strategy based on pandemic. You can decide how your messaging changes, you can decide how your product is distributed, you can do a lot of stuff like that, but you can't base your entire marketing strategy as a startup based on a temporary event. When I say temporary, you might think, oh no, but we'll have to wear masks forever now, or there will be some certain changes, right? Uh, Out of the pandemic, most of the changes are not permanent. There are very few things which will remain permanent. So that's the only thing that we are here to address today. When we say marketing in pandemic times, we are not here to say, hey, short term, what is the solution, right? Saurav said we had to take a loan to extend our runway. So that's a short-term solution in the hopes that business will be as usual, or they will pivot in some way to make sure they don't die because of new environment. But this is going to bring some permanent changes. So as a marketer, I've been observing that macro environment has been changing tremendously because of technology, right? Earlier, probably 10 years ago, people's biggest budget was in newspapers. If you look at marketing media spend, out of that entire pie, the pie that went to newspapers or maybe even TV or billboards, outdoor media was considered to be booming at that point in time. Today, especially high growth startups, maximum media spend is on Google ads, right? That's what's happening. So in any case, things were changing. What, according to me, this pandemic has done is become a catalyst. It has become a catalyst, and it has made these changes happen too fast for us to adapt. So what are these changes? If we have to adapt ourselves, first thing we should ask is, what are these changes, right? So what are these changes which were anyway happening? So we all knew, right, this is going to happen. Someone said they were positively affected because they are an e-commerce business. They did not start out this business thinking, oh, one day there will be lockdown and then our business will boom. It was anyway going in that direction. So today, products have become digital, channels have become digital. When I say channels, I mean channels of distribution, right? So these channels have become uh, uh, digital, and specifically when it comes to your content, the distribution of this content has become digital today. People are advertising on PPC basis on IPL, right? Today, if I want to advertise on IPL, I can have a 50,000 rupees budget and I can advertise on IPL. How? Because Hotstar gives you a PPC model instead of going to a large agency, spending a lot of media budget and getting your logo on a player's t-shirt. So these things are anyway happening, and anything that's physical, what is happening is that is becoming a commodity. Look at what's happened to logistics today. As an e-commerce business, you have n number of options. There is hardly anyone who's got a large competitive advantage apart from their network effects, right? So physical stuff in terms of media, in terms of products, and in terms of content distribution, all of this is becoming a commodity. When we say everything is going digital, we absolutely mean everything when it comes to your marketing. Second thing that has happened is this was again happening earlier. It's not that this is new. We all know content is king. All we don't know is why this is being said. Everyone knows, okay, we got to have a blog, we got to have a newsletter, we got to do this, we got to have a YouTube channel. But why? Because users attention is reducing, okay, and there are just way too many companies fighting for the same attention. So imagine you are competing with Facebook and Instagram for users attention. If you are doing that, you have to make sure your content game is up to the mark, right? When we say content is the king, we also mean there is a lot of inbound. Okay, so when someone's searching, how do I buy X product on Google, they are looking for a solution, but you are not going to be able to reach to them. What will reach is your content, and then they have to be drawn into making a sale, right? That's how digital marketing is working today. And then uh, third and probably the most important point is absolutely everything is measurable and optimizable. Today, it has become very difficult for startups to compete with large players in terms of budget. But what startups do is innovate. So as marketers, all of us can also innovate in marketing. How do we do that? We do a lot of small experiments. So for example, at Wazirex, we absolutely do a lot of experiments. We are running ads on 20 networks. Now when we do that, it's not that we don't understand we are wasting some money, but this money is being spent on experiments, and then these things are measured. Although we have the smallest of ad running, absolutely everything is measured, and once it is measured, we realize what works and what doesn't work. We double down on whatever works, right? So marketing earlier was not very measurable. It was mostly figuring out what the TRP is, which is not a very reliable indicator. Readership of a newspaper is, it's not reliable as well. So all of the digital tools, the best part is that they are all measurable. And then the fourth and the most important thing. So we all talk about branding and messaging, right? What kind of ads we've seen? My product is better than X product because I have 3 cameras. I have 4 cameras, right? My product is better because I have more battery life. Do you think that works anymore? People are not really buying based on product features. What are they buying based on? They're buying based on what they identify with, right? Apple launches one of the most expensive iPhones, and a lot of people buy it. I know that's a cliche example to be given, but then why do people buy it? Because they identify with their philosophy. So there's a cause that Apple's driving. Right? Most great products that you look out there, products that are doing well with sufficient amount of marketing, not products that are being pushed out with discounts, or products which are being really sold based on I have one feature extra compared to my competitor. That doesn't work out well. Today, people are not buying it for features. People are not buying it just because some celebrity recommended it. Why would I buy something if my friends are using it, if my friends are recommending it, right? So the only way this works is you have to have some kind of a cause that you are addressing, which appeals to a lot of people. The cause need not be, I am trying to clean the ocean. The cause could be, increasing productivity of people by 5%. That's also a worthy cause for a business to pursue, right? But there needs to be something that you're doing to improve someone's life. When that happens, everything else falls into place. A lot of things fall into place. Think of last product that you bought, right? Just think of what made you buy that, and figure out whether it was a really logical decision, or just because you identify with the company. It's shown in research that people end up buying much more expensive products if their beliefs align with the company's beliefs and messaging. If their beliefs don't align with it, no point, right? So today there are we saw app ban in India, right? The largest app ban. What happened when TikTok was banned? N number of Indian apps came. Do you think those apps were good at that point in time? Apps like Chingari and all these apps were terrible, terrible to be used. But people spent more effort, way more effort on it. Why? Because their beliefs were aligned. What was their belief? That I need to stand for my country, right? And I need to make sure I support the local businesses. So when this belief goes up, you have a way to capture this audience and give them a product that helps them, and you make revenue out of that. Right? That's how I think of marketing. Also, when I say cost driven, the best marketing minds in the country or anywhere are not really working for money anymore. Are you guys here for money? I don't know, but most entrepreneurs that I've met are not doing it just because they want to make $1 million. They could probably make that money working for some large company, taking weekends off as well, right? But they don't, because today everyone wants some kind of a purpose in their life, and what gives more purpose than a cause to really fight for, right? So this is something that I want to ask. So everyone in this room right now is building something, right? So why are you building whatever you're building? What is your motive? Even if it is money, just say it's okay. I want to understand why are you guys really building whatever you're building. It doesn't matter what you're building. What is your aim? Anyone? No one wants to take a shot at simple question, right? You should know why you are doing this. Want to make an impact, but you've got to be more specific. Everyone wants to make an impact. That's the cause. When you say VJ that you want to make an impact, you are saying I'm working for something that's good. To create a USP, you can paint a cow purple and keep it on a road, charge to see it. That will be your USP. Is that what you're working towards? To make an MVP, you can make an MVP of a bicycle. Would you want to make that, Shravan? Are you making that? Is that your aim? So
So,
one is money, and secondly, it is an interesting problem to solve to get a high. Okay, there are quite a few interesting problems. Vinod, if I give you a physics puzzle, would you want to solve it? It will be very interesting, I promise.
Pareem, just to this is very interesting. I mean, the way you are taking it forward, I am also think it actually triggering a lot of thought process. So why don't we pick up somebody from the audience and have a conversation for 2 minutes. Does that sound like a good idea to you?
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
amazing. Anyone wants to
So
volunteer?
anyone wants to volunteer, just say a hi or a yay here, and then we can unmute you so we can do that and have a conversation, right? I think that will. Okay, so Prateek said you're the first person to say. So we have Prateek. 1 second, I'll just see where you are. Prateek, can you unmute yourself, or should I do it?
Yeah, he's on.
Hi, Mansi.
He's on. Hi. Yeah. So Prateek, we can. So Parim, you want to ask the question or
So,
whatever? Yeah.
can you tell us in short what are you building?
We're building a digital platform for the imports and exports industry. So
Okay.
we digitize the documents and the various processes involved at the time of imports and exports.
Okay. Okay. So that seems like a problem that you're solving, right? It seems like a very clear cut market that you have, and I'm hoping you've studied it and you can make a product for sure. But why are you doing this? What's the point of doing this?
So we got this problem statement from one of the client. I mean, we ended up with a paying customer who
Mhm.
wanted to, get rid of a paper completely and wanted the entire process to be digitized end to end.
Right.
So
So
this
let's
was
say,
not our solution. Like we didn't propose any solution, rather took a problem that exists in the market and then build a solution.
right. So this is a problem, right? When let's say when you solve this problem, who benefits out of this?
The trader, the importers and exporters.
Okay. So let's say if I tell you, okay, Pratik, hey, I'm trying to build this. Let's say I'm selling your own product to you. You are my client, and I come to you and say, hey, Pratik, you know, I am building a software which helps you get rid of all your documentation. It'll all be digitized and automated, and it'll save you so much time. Great, you would buy this product, right? But if I come and say, hey, I understand what you go through, right? You spend so many hours doing this, uh, and that's a loss for the company. That's a loss for you on a personal level. And if you were to use this, it would save X amount of time per person or per transaction or per deal or whatever your unit economics is. Uh, do you think this makes more sense or that makes more sense?
Uh, the second one definitely makes more sense. So I've been also personally involved in a couple of sales. What we learned so far is that there are two ways. The one that you put on the second approach versus what we used to do earlier. We used to threaten the customer. We used to say that, boss, this is what is going on. If you don't upgrade yourself, you risk your business or you might lose something.
Right, right.
The difference that we found in was, like, do not portray the negative side, rather give them something that you're doing something really great, but if you add something to this, it will really make some difference to your life.
I'm just trying to make a case here that one is of course the negative side, saying if you don't buy my insurance you will die and your wife will live poor. That's We all agree that that's bad in 2020. It's not 1980 anymore. We can't do this to customers. On the positive side as well, you could talk about practical factual aspects of what you're doing, or really realize what's happening uh, at your customers level, which is making their lives a little bit better,
Right,
right? If you do that, that automatically what you are doing is the same, your product is the same, your mission is still the same.
right,
All you are doing is you are making it into a cause that this person will go and tell their friends too.
right,
They may not go and say their product has these nice things, so we bought this, but they'll say, hey, this product has really really affected our mindset, and this really made us more efficient, effective, saving our time or money, and maybe saving us some manpower, right?
right,
If you do this, what happens is this becomes your tribe. Okay. So when I say your tribe, essentially what I mean is when we are working for a cause, people connect with us. The famous Gandhiji saying, like, I started walking alone, and people just kept joining.
right.
Why did that happen? Because there was a cause there, right?
Mhm.
I'm not saying we are all even close to that cause, but what you're doing essentially is, let's say you imagine how many importers and exporters are there in the country, or how many transactions are happening. And let's say out of every transaction, if you're able to save, let's say 30% of their time or money,
Right.
what is the amount of time that you are saving for the whole nation or the whole industry, right? If that is your marketing foundation, if everyone in your company understands that this is what we are working for, and also see, from when I say marketing messages, any kind of content or any kind of messaging, for me, it's not just for your customers.
Right.
It's a universal messages. It's a universal message that your family understands, that your friends understand, your employees understand, your employees' families understand. That this is what I am working towards. What are you working towards? I am making sure that this guy spends less money, less time on documentation. So when your CTO decides to build next feature, he knows what to gear it towards. When your developer is coding something, they see and they say, hey, this may save some more time. Great. So this becomes your cause as a foundation for everything that you do, which includes marketing. So that's the idea that I have. Do you have some thoughts on this, Pradeep?
No, I completely agree.
Right. So this is what I wanted to show. I think I can move on to the framework. So based on this is the framework that I've created. I'm calling it CMO stack. I don't know what else to call it, but it's a simple mental model. Okay. Most of the times in marketing, we are thinking about strategy and we think of greatest of things. When we go and execute it, what happens is it's all screwed up, primarily because the execute strategy did not translate into your final campaign. So what I look at in every campaign that I run is whether my cause connects all the way to every campaign that I run or not. Okay, if it doesn't connect, I don't run that campaign. If it connects, I'm happy to do it. Okay, so let me just explain this model in brief, and probably then I can take questions and see maybe even a case study of how it fits, maybe at Pratik's business, or someone wants to volunteer, maybe from a B2C side also, we can take that. So what I believe from what we've discussed is there needs to be a cause, and this cause is universal. Everyone knows that you are working towards this cause. When you even publicly admit that, what happens is people gravitate towards you, and you are able to identify a lot of things very easily. Uh, Second most important thing, according to me, is to understand where your target audience is. Today, as Wazirex, at Wazirex, we get calls from everyone, right from IPL to a gambling website saying, why don't you put a banner ad on our website? How do I even know what's right for me, what's not right for me? So what most marketers do today is we see demographics, right? We say, oh, who's your target market? 15 to 35. Okay, savvy, tier one and metros, male or female or income level. That is how we differentiate, right? But that doesn't seem to be true. How many iPhones are sold in tier three, tier four cities? This is all absolutely turning out to be largely false today because our society is not homogeneous. Okay, uh, that model of demographics, identifying your target audience by demographics, is really old, and in my opinion, that doesn't work. So I will tell you what I mean when I say, you choose your target audience based on your cause, right? So let me go to that. This is my model for segmentation. Okay, this upside down triangle is your target market, segmented according to your cause alignment. Okay, people who are aligned to your cause or not. This is how I segregate people that I can low hanging fruits. I can just reach out and I know this is a sale. It's a done deal. Or some people who just absolutely don't care. I can give them 100 pitches, but then they'll still be like, okay, maybe next month I'll look at it. That's not what we want here, right? So when you segment your audience, try to look at people who are already facing this problem, who are aligned to your cause. Okay. So for example, in crypto, I work for a crypto exchange, right? So Bitcoin is essentially a currency that works without banks, right? So look for anyone who has been hurted by banks. So let's say I talk to an ICICI customer and I talk to a Yes Bank customer. Who do you think is more likely to buy my product? A Yes Bank customer, because they have faced problems with their bank. They have had their funds frozen in their banks, right? So anyone who is aligned with your cause is very easy to get. So people who are already looking for a solution. I've been working with a company that makes marketing platforms. Uh, does more than, I think the company is valued more than $400 million. Uh, they are challenging an incumbent in the market right now. So the easiest thing is to go look for people who are dissatisfied with that incumbent. Very easy, low hanging fruit, get them. They get you. They understand, they will align with your cause. And what will happen is these people will become your core tribe, right? I don't know if you folks have read about Rome research, but that's a great marketing case study of our generation. It's a note-taking app. There are n number of note-taking apps on the market, right from Evernote to Google. But these people are building a new note-taking app. They absolutely have no features, but they have amazing core tribe. It's called Rome Research. You guys can check it out whenever you have time. But they are doing this marketing really well. They're selling a 5-year plan on a SaaS platform for $500. Can you believe that? $500 for a SaaS note-taking product for individuals, not even for businesses. This is what they're doing. And their tribe is absolutely loyal to them. So this is a very low-hanging fruit. Let's say in Pratik's example, I'll continue with this example because it's just easier, right, to understand with an example. So who is looking for a solution right now, Pratik?
The exporter initially.
Sorry?
The exporter initially, the one who is into exports.
Exporter is a large thing. You got to drill it down and say who is looking for my solution right now. Today, if I go and talk to them, the deal will be closed today.
Uh,
So
so
all the exporters, is there some size? Let's say companies with 100 employees or companies with.
okay, so right now we are selling it to the seafood exporters from the Andhra region, and these are shipping to US, regularly doing the shipments to US and China.
Is it that they have way more documentation than everyone else?
Uh, there are other things also for which they need a buying in, which we are actually
Okay.
providing the
So
things that are linked to it.
let's say if you were to identify, just talking here, okay, identify a segment that has maximum paperwork. Could you identify someone like that who's absolutely maybe who could lay off 30% of their staff if they use your software?
And then these are the one which exports the perishable goods and the drugs. So the pharma companies and the agri exporters.
Okay, so they have maximum paperwork. So these are your low hanging fruits right now, right? These will become your core tribe. These are the people who will look at you and say, okay, these guys started with a product that had little to do. Initially, when we start, usually our marketing budget is lower as startups, right? Even if you are heavily funded, uh, overall budget just keeps increasing. So first is easy to understand where your customer acquisition cost lies. So the more uh, you go towards masses, your customer acquisition cost goes up, and the effort goes up as well. Once you look at people who are looking for a solution, then you look at people who are already dissatisfied, but they just don't know it themselves that there could be a solution for their woes. So let's say there is you know, a large importer in some rural area who just does not even know that this is a possibility. These people are your second level target segment. but they are not looking for you as yet. All you have to do is show up in front of them and say, hey, we exist. Okay, that's all that is needed. And then comes your utility adopters, people who are already using some kind of a software solution, people who are already, maybe develop their own in-house thing, and then they will compare feature to feature. Today, if you go to a company that's already using some software, I'm sure there must be someone who is using some software, right? Not the entire industry is doing hand paper work, right? So if you go to that company, what will happen is they'll compare your software point to point. And as startups, it's very, very difficult to beat an incumbent like that, right? If they have the money, they would be like, hey, let's compare your product to what we can do with SAP. You will say it is cheaper, but we don't want cheaper stuff. You don't want to sell it cheap just because they're big, right? Ideal way is to go this. And this also saves your customer acquisition cost by a lot. Last segment is the masses who absolutely do not care for most products, right? Unless you are a Paytm or Zomato, Swiggy, masses do not care for most products. So there is absolutely 0 point advertising to markets. I see a lot of our competitors. So this is a live example. Give a front page ad on Economic Times or an IPL ad. You know what happens to their ROI from those campaigns? Terrible ROI, absolutely terrible ROI, because masses just do not care about cryptocurrencies. We have to accept that as marketers. If we don't accept that, we are living in a delusion. So ROI is the best when someone comes to us and say, hey, how do I buy cryptocurrencies in India? And if they say that, all we have to do is show up on the search. Done. Our job is done, and we know where our customers are. Some people, they don't know that they want to invest in an alternative vehicle like ultra HNIs. We go to them and we say, hey, you have funds. This is high risk, high return investment. You should be investing, and it turns out to be relatively easier than anyone else. But if I start talking to you guys and say, hey, let's all buy Bitcoin, I don't think I will be able to close this sale today, because that is very challenging. You will probably be at a utility adopter level, right? So this is how I feel, and this is all connected to your cause. Okay, so why did I ask for paperwork, not for anything else? Is because paperwork, saving time is your core cause for this, right? That's all. People should identify your brand as saying, these people, they just save our time. And your product team also needs to know that we are supposed to save people's time, whichever industry it is. You may be in import export today, you may go to X industry today, but that's your cause, right? Your efficiency people, productivity people. And once the target audience has been identified, what do? Is we build culture, symbols, and rituals. Best of brands have a culture. We don't realize this, but best of brands have culture. Why do we love Amul butter or any, even, some people absolutely love Ola, some people absolutely love Uber, some people absolutely love Amazon Prime, some people absolutely love Netflix, and their terminology is different. Why are these differences happening? It's because there is a culture behind their marketing, the way they design their product to the way their messaging is. Everything is their culture. Okay, Apple never talks about their product features, right? If there's a big billboard on Mumbai airport, it's just an iPhone, or it's just a picture saying clicked with iPhone. That's all. That's their culture. That's how they appeal to people, saying we are easy to use, clean people, right? That's what they're saying. And then you design your product, you have a vision and roadmap accordingly, right? So let's say from Pratik's perspective, okay, I'll keep telling you unless you stop me, Pratik. So if you don't want me to talk about your case study, tell me. But I think it's interesting. It's a very technical B2B business, and the model needs to work on that, right? So what is your culture? Saying we save people's time. That's all we are doing. So the metrics that you measure for your marketers, for your product, for your team is how is your feature that you designed saving people's time or not. If it is saving people's time, amazing, your metrics go high. That's your what do you call it, OKR, right? That's the culture that you build, and then you evolve these symbols, rituals, and say, hey, our software also has a notification which says, hey, you just saved 10 hours this month. Great. You know, if I may be in a boring importer's office, if I get that pop-up which says, oh, I just saved 10 hours this month with their software. Wow. Great. That's the symbolism and the culture that you build in your product. When it goes to a level that is a cult, it's not a product anymore. No competitor can come and copy this feature and, displace you. Absolutely no one can do that. Your competitor may have n number of features, but that guy will love the pop-up. That's what they will love. They will not love how beautiful your forms are designed, right? So that's culture that you have to build, and your product, of course, has to align with that. Next is, I will have to quickly go through this because I think we are running out of time. Uh, but next is, of course, once you have these things figured out, you go outreach, right? So you do cold calling, or you do sales calls, you do Google advertising, Facebook, wherever you go. The most important thing to figure out is, where is your fish net? So what I call fish net is one particular bucket where all your leads, intents, everything goes, and no one gets out of this. Mostly Fishnet these days is a blog. Either it is a social media page, either it is, let's say, regular research reports, or a newsletter, or a YouTube channel, whatever you have. These things are owned by you, and everyone who you touch should come and subscribe to these things, because then they are in your fishnet and they will convert either today or tomorrow, right? You can't afford to design a campaign where everyone just goes from conversion, from touch point to conversion. It's not going to happen that you show me an ad saying, hey, I will save your paperwork, you are an exporter. If that lands in my email, I may want some call to action, which might not be buying the product or calling you. It can be, hey, how to save your time when you know, uh, do your paperwork. We will give you tips on that every week. This is our newsletter, or this is our YouTube channel. This is how we discuss. People would want to subscribe to it, whether they buy your product or not. Once they subscribe to it, you can keep churning them. And this doesn't cost anything compared to reaching out to the same customer again and again and again. That's expensive. Distribution today is expensive, right? So that's your fishnet, which has to have all sorts of analytics to know where these people came from, where they are going, what they're clicking on, everything. Uh, Last two pieces are your content and distribution, right? So we all know content is great. We all need content. But mostly we are all aiming for virality. At least B2C people are absolutely aiming for some kind of jackpot, but it doesn't happen anymore. Sorry. Most platforms, algorithms are not designed for virality anymore. They are designed for sustained growth. So it's just a gamble. You may come up with the best thing, but if it just doesn't go viral without distribution, it doesn't work. So distribution is way more important than the content that you put out. By distribution, I mean uh, either your blog, or you go and post on someone else's blog. You get a YouTuber to do a video for you. You get, let's say, someone for a webinar, and you talk about challenges in your industry. Absolutely anything that you do, any kind of distribution, whether it is paid for or not paid for or organic, this is all distribution. Even your SEO is distribution. But there are just way too many distribution avenues. So this is where you got to experiment. You got to test everything, run as many experiments as possible, have like a large budget just for experiment. This 30 lakh rupees is gone. I am not going to get any return out of it. It's only meant to identify the best working distribution channel. And then you just go lay your fishnet on top of it, and that's it. It's done, right? I'm sure it sounds very easy. It's not as easy as that, but distribution is a key challenge today to be cracked, right? So that's the brief of model. I think we still have some time for questions. If you folks have any questions, please post it in the chat. I think Chandra has asked me a question privately, but that's for Pratik. No questions at all. Someone wants to quickly discuss any problem that you are facing. Absolutely no one has any problem. Wow, that's amazing.
I don't have a question per se, but this is something that I have noticed most entrepreneurs end up doing. Okay. Okay, there is okay, Pratik, can I just finish my question and then we'll go to Pratik's question first. Okay. So, when you said about the fishnet or when you said about conversion, right, converting the right kind of people, most of the times what happens is we as entrepreneurs or I mean, obviously we cannot be amazing sales head or we cannot be amazing marketing people, right? So every time we go and talk to a client or we try to sell, okay, we try to jump to that aspect rather instead of realizing that okay, maybe that conversion will not happen, but I just need to create an impression on the back of that person's mind so that he in future when he sees that problem statement, I am the one that comes to his mind. So how do you build that kind of mindset rather than just going and saying please buy my product? Okay, I mean that unconsciously happens, right? So I
it has to come from the cause. uh, the reason I asked is, why are you building what you're building? We know we are not, uh, we are not soldiers here. We are here to make money. End goal for everyone is to make money, no doubt about that. But if you understand, if you're working in a particular industry and you adopt a particular cause, that is what will come out of your mouth for the first time, right? So let's say at Wazirex, our cause is to make sure we make India, uh, we make crypto accessible to India, right? We run a campaign called India Wants Crypto. That's our hashtag, India Wants Crypto. It's been running for 2.5 years now, and our CEO has 74,000 followers on Twitter. The reason is he really believes, he absolutely believes that I am doing something good by bringing crypto to India. And if you believe that, that shows when you go to make a sales call or when you're talking to, your neighbor asks, hey, what do? You don't say, I make pharma products. What you say is, I take care of people's health in this particular way. That messaging has to come from inside. That's something that absolutely no one can teach. Either you can adopt a cause or you can't adopt a cause, but great marketers, any great marketer in the world has always had a cause. Without a cause, absolutely you can't do anything great. Yeah, you can sell products, you can sell commodities and make some money. But I mean, that's not what we are here for, right? We are all entrepreneurs. We want to do something great. We don't want to just make products and sell. Right? So that's my answer. I think.
yeah, I guess I think it's the intention. You don't go there to do a sale, you go there to talk about your cause,
You can
and
practice this.
ultimately it will result into a sale, I guess,
You can
right?
practice a speech, and then what happens. A lot of NGO CEOs come out and say, "Hey, don't use plastic. Don't use plastic." And what do influencers do? They harass them to click pictures of them with plastic. So don't go and say it's a cause if you really don't believe it. It has to be a cause, at least in your mind first. And it could be the simplest possible thing. I said Rome Research is just a note-taking app, but it's a cause. Note taking has been a challenge since forever. 5,000 years we haven't been able to solve this problem. So he's solving it, and they're doing pretty well. So yeah, Pratik.
Yeah, we have some questions coming in, so maybe.
Pratik asked, what would
Um,
be the most frugal way, according to you, to find the best channel? Go and work for your competitor. That's the best way. Absolutely best way. Frugal. Otherwise, today distribution is very, very expensive. If you don't have, you do is you work for 6 months, 1 year yourself. You make sure you build some kind of a revenue. That money is channelized, because marketers don't work for cheap. Today, the analytics expert that we have is one of the best that I've ever seen. But this guy is not going to work for anything unless it's for your cause. So what most frugal way of getting distribution is also to recruit your tribe early on. Okay. So a lot of people work for WazirX for free. They make videos, they do n number of things. Why? Because they believe in our cause. It's not that they are expecting any monetary compensation out of it. We do give whenever we can, but it's not like we can always do that. But this tribe of yours needs to go out and do this for you. If your cause is strong, it will happen. With a B2B product, the cause is not that strong generally. Okay. With a B2C product, causes are usually very strong. So that's a challenge. I think Dr. Kiran asked, how does CMO Stack ensure empathy? So, sir, I think this is the epitome of empathy. I envision a world where absolutely everyone is working for a cause, not for money. If this really starts happening, this is not cause for advertising. This is not cause where you go and donate something for charity and say, I am this great person. No, you have to embody that cause. If you don't embody that cause, there is no point. You can't. So I tell this to people. Do you think people who promote Lux really use Lux? This has been a question that every marketer has asked. If not, then why am I listening to Shah Rukh Khan? He doesn't use it. So people of this generation, millennials and Gen Z, are going to question these things. So empathy is absolutely must at the center of any cause that you're working towards, right? Hope that answers your questions. If you have follow-up, please post it in the chat. I will take it one after the other. Saurav asked, what are some relevant channels for creating a good B2B outreach and engagement? Saurav, my belief is for B2B, I have explored, usually it's mostly conferences, events. If you have an industry newsletter, that's amazing. If you are working in pharma, I'm sure there are a lot of pharma newsletters. Any industry has their own newsletters. You have gatherings, you have awards. These are the places where you find maximum open-minded people, right? Just to talk and then convert them into a lead. That's the most efficient. Today, I see more B2B people doing content marketing than ever. Check out this app called CleverTap. Okay, CleverTap has built a big repository of content which is so absolutely crazy that anytime you search for their category, you just end up there. And what they do is they don't tell you to buy their product because it's an expensive product, right? It's a complicated product, B2B. So what they do is they invite you to their webinar. And then you go to their webinar and then they identify who is hot or who absolutely fits our sales, and then they get that person personal attention. Someone, account manager, goes and closes this. So this is an entire funnel that you're creating, but primarily what you're doing is you are creating that fishnet still. Once you go into their website and they have your email ID, you will keep getting tips. So for me, I think if you are big enough in your sector, create a newsletter which is the newsletter in your industry. This should be a must read for everyone. Every expert should write in your newsletter. Create that, or even YouTube channels, B2B webinars, talks, fireside chats work really well. This is not only a channel; it is a channel, but it is also your fishnet. So I think that has to happen for a B2B kind of a setup. Vinod asked, next steps. The discussion was very transformational for me. First time I heard culture called fishnet. So if you have specific questions, Vinod, about your business, I would be very happy to answer of how your model fits. You can try and fit this model. I will share this PPT once the webinar is done. You can try and fit it. If it doesn't, maybe we can connect. Message me on LinkedIn or something. I would be very happy to do this. Another question from Vinod. I was wondering, would you or someone can have paid or complimentary 1 hour brainstorming session with us? I'm sure a lot of people would be very happy to do that. But you will have to articulate your problem really well. Okay. See, whenever you are asking for any kind of knowledge, it's very important to articulate your problem very well so that people can reply. Right. Shravan, yeah, my contact details are here.
So Also, everyone who is there right now, yeah, I was about to say this. You can subscribe to Pareen's newsletter as well. At the same time, if you guys need any help, you can reach out to T Hub. Okay, we can arrange for a session with Pareen, or we can connect you to the right people depending on what kind of requirement you have. Pareen, some people are messaging me privately if we can have another session. So I'm going to kind of trouble you and see if we can have some regular workshops and
Yeah,
have some kind of sessions. I think a lot of people online will agree with that, and I'm sure they will benefit as well. So we will definitely, if we
see you
get
remember,
considerable
I think
requests,
we have a
sorry,
couple of questions more. Divakar has a
we okay, okay, cool.
very relevant question.
So if everyone is okay extending the session, we can go another 10 minutes. I guess it should be okay.
So Divakar has this question which says the term baby boomers, millennials, Gen X, Z are made for US market segmentation. That's true. So Divakar, I think India is pretty diverse. The first way we segregate is geography, right? Because we know larger cities different from tier one, tier two, and then everything else. So that's very clear. But these terms, I think baby boomers, Gen X, don't apply to India because we did not have that. But millennials and Gen Z in India are surprisingly similar in behavior to those in US. If you look at Gen Z behavior in India and in US, they would be watching the same thing, they would be following the same games, absolutely everything, except maybe they might have some regional content that they are seeing. So if I am from X particular state, I may be seeing some content from my state also, but I still know, what Kim Kardashian is doing. Yeah, so people do that. So these things really apply to India. Again, I don't segment it this way. So when it comes to segmentation, pause. Some of the Gen Z people, 15-year-olds, are buying Bitcoin. Some 60-year-olds are buying Bitcoin. Both of them understand the pause. They are very different, but I know they hang out in a particular place, let's say called Clubhouse, right? We have all sorts of people. So I have to find them, hunt them on those channels where I can find all of these demographics mix, right? I think Saurav has one question. You did not mention digital ads, Google, LinkedIn. Yeah, so what I'm saying, PPC ads are all any kind of paid campaigns. There are just way too many networks these days. So in that channel itself, so on PPC there could be just one whole session because Google is pretty generic. Then you have ad networks specifically for every industry, every vertical, and then there are super niche ad networks as well. So Google, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and of course Facebook involves Instagram. So all these things are pretty mass market large. Then there are other ad networks as well. But yeah, I just mentioned I think Google PPC for a while, but these are primary right now. Uh,
Sure. Can I request everyone to fill the feedback form that I've just shared? So I've just shared a link on the chat box. Can you please take a couple of minutes before you sign off and fill that feedback form? It really helps us design better workshops for you guys next time. So please take a couple of minutes to fill that up. And meanwhile, anyone has questions for Pareen, he's still available for the next a couple of minutes more. I will request him to stay back. So if anyone has more questions, please write it there on the chat box and before we conclude the session.
I think we're good.
An interesting fact about Pareen that I missed out telling everyone is that he also is a writer and an author, and he's been writing for a lot of publications, including the Economic Times. So I guess and he might be angry if I say this. I don't know whether he'll be upset, but he's also planning to write a book which will be releasing soon. So I think you guys should follow him and see when this book launches. We will let you guys know, right? So all the best for him. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess there are no more questions coming up, and we can Anyone else has questions? Okay, somebody has asked a question. Mr. Chandramouli, how you are updating ideology on daily? Parin is.
So
Can you?
I think what Chandra is asking is how does this cause go all the way to the bottommost of people who are working for the company, right? So I would really encourage you to identify some amazing companies that you admire today. If you make a list, you will realize that everyone has this culture. Look at greatest country companies in India like Tata's. Okay, you go and you talk to someone in a Tata company, and you go and talk to someone in some other Indian company. You will see the difference. It's a huge difference. How are they getting this? They're getting this because Tatas have some values, right? I mean, it is these values that drive everything that they do, and everyone understands this. Everyone absolutely understands this. That's why even someone who is driving a car for a boss will have that. It starts from the top and it goes all the way down, absolutely everywhere. You go and walk into an Apple store and you see how they talk to you. You know why is that person who's probably an entry level, even an intern, is talking to you like that, is because they understand what this company stands for and how strong your cause is. That matters a lot.
Great. Thank you so much, Pareen, and thanks to everyone for joining in today. I'm sure this session triggered a lot of thought process. Yes, definitely. I mean, I don't have to say that. The chat box is like everybody's writing thank you to you and for the session that you've done. So thanks a lot. Yes, guys, if you have anything, you can share reactions down. So can we have a round of applause for Pareen, guys, please, before we thank him and say goodbye? There is a reaction button. Yes, thank you, guys. Thank you so much, and thanks a lot, Pareen, for this. We will come back to you for another session very soon, hopefully, and I hope you get time for that. And if there is anybody who wants to reach out to him, Pareen already shared his. Uh, yeah, you already shared the con. If at all you want to reach out to him, otherwise you can write to me and I will forward it to him. So that also works. And yeah, his his newsletter details are there, his Twitter, Clubhouse, as well as LinkedIn details are there. So you guys can reach out to him as well. So thanks a lot, Pareen, once again, and we will see you very soon. Have a good evening and
Thank,
a great weekend.
Thanks to T Hub for organizing this.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.